Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for March 10th, 2019. I apologize for the hat and the shade, but my eye is hurting me. I have a thing called iritis, and I think it's happening because it's driving me crazy. My eye hurts right now, so I'm just kind of shading it from the bright. I know that doesn't seem like a bright light, but the light in my office is bright enough it's starting to hurt, and you really don't want to see me in sunglasses indoors, do you? Anyway, so we're just gonna go through this really quick for an update, even though I did quite a bit of reading. It was not my best reading week, I would say, of what happened, but I think I still read some stuff. I got some stuff off my TBR that I'm glad I accomplished, just to be done with them, and I mean done with them. And then I made some progress on some other things. So I'm just going to go through the stuff that I finished, the stuff I'm in the middle of, and what I think I'm going to read next week. So this week was Translate-a-thon. Reija over at the book Finch puts that on. I think this is round 3. I think I've done at least 2 of them. So I did want to read some translated fiction. So the first one I picked up was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. Now, I've heard a lot of great things about this, and I'm a big proponent of Japanese literature. I've read so many different ones that I want to read more. I got more on my shelf that I want to read, but this one just did not do it for me. I can see why everybody likes it, and I can see what the author did really well. Like, it was written really well. Or even in the translation, which is by Jeannie Tapley Takaimori. Sorry. It's not the way it was more, again, my reaction to the characters and what they decide to do with certain things. And again, sometimes I understand why it went this way, and I understand how it all plays out. I love the end. I mean, I'll give you that. I'm glad I finished it out and got to the end. That made me, that helped a lot with the way I feel about this book. But I think about halfway through this, I was just angry at what was happening. And it's again, I don't think it's the main character. Kiko is, I'm guessing she has some form of autism. It's never actually stated, but she thinks things a little differently than I would think a lot of other people do, or maybe not as many people think the same way she does. And she does things to make herself happy. She gets her ducks in a row, and she does a certain thing, and she works in a convenience store, and she's like 38 years old. She's been there for like 18 years, and that routine is really what drives her, which was the good part. Okay, so that was the good part, and I like the convenience store stuff. But then she meets a new coworker, and then things happen later with that person that kind of upset me most of the time, actually. I would say it just pissed me off. And then, okay, this is where it becomes a personal thing for me. So I can see, again, I think a lot of people are going to like this, and I'm not saying don't read this. I'm saying for me, it felt like a personal attack because I'm single without children, and I got angry. And again, I think it's just my personal take on it. So I think that was my reaction to it. Reading this made me angry on how she portrayed everybody else. And again, I'm not saying the people in this were any different than people I've met here in the U.S., like people wanting you to be the same as everybody else and to get married and have kids. And I've had those same conversations many, many times at my age, because that just didn't happen for me. It's not saying I decided not to, it just didn't happen. So, but I felt personally attacked in some way. So I think this just triggered that for me, making me angry at showing so much of that. And I guess it drove me crazy that her friends and family were so unsupportive. And I guess, again, it was a personal attack for me. I think it was really well done. I think the writing is really, and the translation is really well done. It's not that. It's just I took a personal dislike to it. And so I did not like that book. Again, I can see why a lot of people like it and get stuff out of it. And I think it redeemed itself in the end. But it wasn't enough to say I enjoyed it, and I will be definitely getting rid of that book. So anyway, again, I'm not saying don't read it. I'm saying it hit buttons for me that piss me off. When that happens, that makes the reading experience so unenjoyable. But again, I think I don't think it was just, it wasn't even timing. I think that would have bothered me anytime. Anyway, so the next piece of translated fiction that I picked up was The Queue by Vladimir Sorokin. I picked this up when I was in Vermont last year at a bookstore there. This is written in 1985. This is translated by Sally Laird, I think. Anyway, this is the weirdest book. I picked it up. I thought I was picking up a different book called The Queue, I think. I think I had seen somebody else talking about it. But this is really just all dialogue of people inside. Oops, sorry. So inside, like in a line, waiting for some goods. This takes place in Russia. I'm not exactly sure what town. I don't think it's any of the big or the really, really big cities, or it's on the outskirts. I don't know, because they talk about Moscow at some point, but in a different way. But I don't know. But they, people are just lined up, like thousands of people, and I don't even know what they're getting. They don't actually tell you. They're saying, oh, it's American, it's Turkish, it's something else. So you think it's jeans, or it's furniture, or it's something else, but it doesn't really tell you, because that's not kind of the point of the story. But it was a weird book because there's no dialogue tags. I mean, it's all dialogue. So it was a fast read. I mean, it still took me quite a bit of time because there is like plots within it and characters, and you kind of get to know some of them, and some of them then just disappear, and then they go off and do weird things. But I would say the last like 50, 60 pages was bizarre. As in it took a turn that I was not expecting. And then it just kind of made the whole thing kind of irrelevant by the end. And so I did not enjoy this. I think it was a interesting concept. I think it's definitely experimental. And I'm glad I read it just to say I did, but really, it was not really all that, I don't think it was all that great. I think it was more of a commentary on Russia in the mid-'80s and how they probably had to stand in line for a lot of things that, we take for granted here that we didn't have to do. So it was a weird book. Again, it's one of those things where I'm glad I read it, but I wouldn't read it again. It was weird. I don't know, but it was translated, so I got 2 things done for Translate-a-thon. I also read Poison or Protect by Gail Carriger. This is a novella. It's actually a delightfully deadly novella, although this is the only one she's come out with this one. But this is one of the characters from the Finishing School series, and it's like when she's I think it's like over 10 years later from when she's left the finishing school, which is a school where girls go to learn how to finish people. They don't get finished themselves, well, they do, but I mean, they are they become spies and agents and things. Anyway, so Precia was very good at it, let's just put it that way. She has her own backstory of why she is very good at poisoning people, and she's been married 4 times. And this story takes place, again, as that she's in her, I believe it's more late 20s, early 30s, kind of, I think it's late 20s. But she meets up with, she's going to a house party out in the country, and she's there to protect this Duke Snodgrass or something. I don't remember how his name is said. Anyway, but she's also there to kind of prevent his daughter from marrying somebody else. He doesn't like him. And then she meets Galvin, who's he used to be a captain in the military, and he's been retired, but he's been asked to go and guard the Duke from bad people, but he's there because his friend is the one who wants to marry the daughter. And so it's all of the stuff that Gail Carriger does. It's all the funny stuff, it's all the paranormal stuff, and then also has the finishing school in here too. It's a good mixture on her stuff. I really enjoyed it. It's one of those ones where I've never got to, because I hadn't finished the finishing school series, and I didn't want to read about one of the side characters until after I'd finished, because I wanted to make sure I knew everything going into it. And I really enjoyed it. She's Gail Carriger right now is doing on her website and her social media is we're reading everything in her whole universe of all the books that are connected up to the new release of the newest book, and that's in August. So I'm only reading the books that I have not gotten to. So it's been really good because I finally finished the Finishing School series the other week, and then now I've done this one, and so now I don't have to worry about anything until I think like May, where then I'll have May or June was when I get back to books that either I read only once and I want to reread, or I want to, or read the books that I haven't read yet. So the summer mostly will be Carriager. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, but I really enjoyed that novella. It was like 150 pages. It was just fun. It was just a fun ride, and I enjoyed it. I personally would, I think it goes in line, so I don't think you want to read it out of order, but it was still really cute. I know. I enjoyed it. I mean, if you don't mind. Yeah, it wasn't really spoiling anything, so you could probably read it on its own. It was just a cute little, and it had a little romance in it. It was cute. I'm continuing to listen to Washington Alive by Ron Chernow in my car. I am making progress, guys. I am almost to 700 pages. I'm at 689. So I have, I think, about 8 hours left on the audiobook. So I'm trucking away. I'm hoping to get this done this week. This is my one of my mammoths for March of the Mammoths, and I'm hoping to get this done this next week. As I said, I mostly just listen to my car. I haven't listened to it. I did a few chores yesterday, and so I did listen to it a little bit in the house, but most of the time it's just been in my car. And as I said, I'm really enjoying this, learning so much about Washington in the early part of the government, and the oppositions between the two. It's been very interesting the last week, because it's more the stuff that I don't know about his administration for the two terms that he did, and his cabinet members who all hate each other and all have different ideas and all think the other ones want to make it a monarchy when none of them do. It's very interesting. I've been really enjoying that read, and as I said, it's my first one in the presidential biographies that I want to do. What a lot of people do is read all the presidents. So, and then I'm going to do some offshoots as well, but about people in politics. I just don't know enough about politics, I guess, and I don't really want to study anything about right now. So let's go back to the founding fathers first, and then we'll do this. I am also reading 20 Years After by Alexander Dumas. This was also for Translate-a-thon. I was already reading it, but I haven't got a whole far, because I read those translated works instead of this. I just put this down. Again, it's because it's a chunker. This is, again, my other mammoth. This is a book that's been on my TBR for 20-some years. So this is the second book in the D'Artagnan romances. So this comes after the Three Musketeers, 20 years after. So it's kind of interesting, because now we're seeing all the musketeers that were in that book as older men. And what I love about this is I realized that when I first read the Three Musketeers, I was younger than D'Artagnan by a couple of years. And now I'm reading 20 Years After, and I'm older than him by a couple of years. It's kind of sad, actually, because I should not have waited to read this book. But it's one of those things where it intimidated me, even though I wanted to read this so many times. I don't know why I did. Anyway, so far I'm really enjoying it. It's just a slower read right now because of my eye issue. It's got smallish kind of print, so I can only read so much before my eye goes, nope, let's not do that. But I'm really enjoying this. Again, this is pretty much right now they're getting the band back together kind of thing. D'Artagnan is going to each of the ones and try to talk them into coming back into the service. And now they're all in their 40s, so it's kind of funny. Anyway, so I don't know what really the rest of the book is about, because I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to do something or other. And then the last thing I've been reading is I've been doing a reread, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I'm following along with Steve Donoghue's read-along. For me, it's a reread along. I'm really enjoying rereading it. It's been a couple of years. I don't think I'd picked this up recently. I read parts of it. Like, I read parts I really liked, and then, but I haven't reread the whole thing probably in a couple of years. It's not been too long, but just enough that I'm really, really enjoying the reread. My problem is that I didn't want to stop yesterday when I got to the part we're supposed to stop for today, because again, he does a video on Sundays, and we're supposed to be reading 15 chapters every week. So I didn't want to stop, but I did, because I want to keep with his experience of listening to what he talks about. And I have read it before, so it's not like I don't know what's going to happen. But I still wanted to read on. So, as I said, I've gotten up to part 2, chapter 8. So, that's where I'm at right now. And I have it tabbed of where we're supposed to read to, just so, and then to go back and look. But I just want to, I'm enjoying this. Again, I love, Pride and Prejudice is, again, one of my favorite books. Anyway, so that is all that I can talk about right now. I've already talked too long, yeah, it was a weird reading week. I had those 2 translated books. One's off my shelf, so I'm glad I got through them. Yes, Cooper. But I did not enjoy them. And then, I'm enjoying the Dumas, so of course, I'm enjoying that. And Washington is going well for an audiobook, and of course I really want to read Pride and Prejudice right now, but I'm going to wait till after his video and then I can continue on for the next week. But it's going to be really hard to stop at that time, so maybe I'll wait. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So what are you guys reading this week? Did you guys participate in Translate-a-thon? How are you guys doing on your mammoth reads? I'd be curious to know. Let me know. And Cooper and I will see you later. Bye.